Today we are going to be discussing the fine line between collecting and addiction. Is there a fine line, or are they actually the same thing? Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Andri. Today we are gonna chit chat, but before we get onto the chit chat, I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already. Whilst you're there, you can ding my bell, which will remind you every time I upload a video. A thumbs up is always very much appreciated, and I really want you to get into the comments and discuss your thoughts on whether or not addiction has a fine line, is totally different, or actually the same thing. Grab yourself your favourite beverage and let's start chit-chatting. Cheers! So this video came about when Miss Frankencat posted on Instagram her collection of Chanel nail varnishes. I'll put her post right here. And I said collection, and I commented on it. I brought up the post right here, and I commented and I said, I've actually found someone with a bigger addiction to nail varnish. And Lux and Roses then replied to my comment and said, you're an addict, she's a collector. I then replied to Lux and Roses and said, some would argue the difference. Miss Frankencat then replied at andrisworld, at Lux and Roses, I fear Andri is right. The line between collecting and addiction is pretty fine. Remember your thoughts down in the comments. And I was like, actually replied back to that. Let me just fix you a little bit. Yeah, so I replied back to that and I went, what a great video idea. So here we are. By the way, I will link Miss Frankencat's YouTube channel down below, because that's how I found her. I found her through my addiction of nail varnish, a Chanel nail varnish. She has, by the way, about 500 bottles of Chanel nail varnish alone. Never mind the rest of the makes. About 500 bottles of Chanel nail varnish. Would we say she's a collector? Or is she addicted to Chanel nail varnish? You see, it's interesting because what defines a collector and what defines an addict? You know, we're talking about addiction to probably shopping here. You know, if we're going to put it in a bracket, we're not talking about, you know, taking things and things like that. What is a collector? Of course I did my research. A person who collects things of a specified type professionally or as a hobby. So that's a collector, okay? What's an addict? Specifically a bag addict, okay? I suppose, you know, a thing addict, okay? We're not, like I said, we're not discussing about other addictions here. We're talking about like a shopping addict. I think here we'll just bracket nail varnish, handbags, designer things, all in the kind of shopping addict thing here. Okay, so this is a mixture of the shopping high. Okay, so it's all about getting the high. When you buy something, you feel excited about buying that thing. Because what happens when we shop and we buy something, we get all excited and all those happy hormones kick off, you know, like those endorphins and all of that. So, and then there's that fear of missing out, the FOMO. You know, it's that needing it, wanting it right now, the impatience of it. That's the addict. You need it, you want it right now, is what is an addict. So that's what an addict is. So a collector collects things, and an addict buys things for the high. But I would argue there that a collector would also get a high from finding that rare piece that they're looking for. Okay, now when I watch a lot of collectors on YouTube or put themselves in the bracket of collecting, for me a collector is somebody that collects a specific item. So for talking's sake, let's say a Speedy. Somebody's collecting the Louis Vuitton Speedies. Do we still call a collector somebody that collects everything Chanel, everything Hermes, everything designer? Is that still a collector? Or in fact, is that somebody that's addicted to shopping, to getting that high of buying something? So, you know, it's like when you take, you know, that hit, when you take that and it gives you that high, you're then searching for your next high. You've had that high, you've got there, you've come back down, and you're looking for your next high. And so you're buying again, and you're buying again, and you keep on buying on a regular basis. On, you know, that is an addict. That's, you're looking for that high. So people that we see on YouTube that call themselves collectors, again, they are continuously buying. They are continuously collecting a lot of things, a lot of bags. You know, to me, a collector, that's just my opinion, is somebody that collects a specific item. For example, just the Speedies, you know, the little ones, the big ones, all the different ones that come out. You know, there's, you know, being specific to your collection. To me, that's what makes a collector. You know, but when you're saying I'm a collector of handbags, and you just keep buying and buying, and you're buying the next one, and you're buying and you're buying and buying, to me, you're bordering on a shopaholic. I think you're bordering on that, looking for the next fix of something. It's really quite interesting, because when you look at what psychologists have to say, a lot of them say collecting an addiction stems back to your childhood. Some say it's, you know, when when you're getting a toy as a child, and it's that excitement of getting the toy, it stems from that, and you're looking for that as an adult. You know, there's lots of theories as to addiction and collecting. Now, when you're addicted to drugs, for example, your body is craving that. You've given yourself that drug, and your body is craving that. So that's, I would say, is different to when you're a shopaholic. But what you've created with that is that high again. It's craving the high. It may not be down to a chemical. Well, that could be argued as well, because the high is, you know, what is it, all the endorphins and dopamines and all of that. So that's the hormones that trigger all that high feeling of feeling good. You know, it gets quite complicated, and I don't want to make it complicated here, because I'm not an expert and I don't really know what I'm talking about, if I had to be honest. I just thought I would put this, I just thought it would be an interesting chit chat, and just wanted to hear your opinions, like your true opinions. Do you think there's a difference between the two? Why do you think there's a difference, if you think there's a difference? Or in actual fact, do you think it's the same thing, but maybe on slightly different levels? I know when I look at a lot of people on YouTube, my opinion is, which my opinion doesn't count, but when I look at a lot of people and they're buying, apart from it now being a business for them on YouTube, because, you know, they buy, it's content and all of that, but we've spoken about all of that before. But there is, for some people, I look at them and I think, you are addicted to shopping, getting your next fix. You're not content with what you have. You're never going to be content. You're addicted to buying. So yes, you are a collector. You are collecting these items, Some may say you're hoarding, but that's another whole subject in itself. But you're addicted to collecting these items. You are addicted to collecting, is how I would put it. So, is it the same thing? I think it's very, very, very close. And the fine line is really, really fine. It's so fine, sometimes you don't see it. The other thing I would like to ask is, for those of you out there that feel you are collectors, is there an end? Is there ever an end to your collection? Is there an end goal? Or do you just, like, for example, if you're collecting Speedies, Louis Vuitton are always going to bring out a Speedy, for example, forever. They're going to forever be bringing out, it's the classic bag, and they're forever going to bring out their Speedy. So, is there ever an end to your collection? You know, is that when it borders onto addiction? Is there anything wrong with being addicted? Well, in all honesty, if it's not harming anybody, you can afford your addiction as long as you're not harming yourself. We're not talking about drugs and things like that. If it's not harming you or anybody else in any way, is there anything wrong with your addiction of collecting? Because that's how I would put it. I would say a collector is an addict of collecting. See, I don't know if that's what I actually started off thinking, but I'm now talking myself into this. This is why I want to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts. It's quite a complex subject when you look into it, especially when you look at the background of why people collect. That is really interesting, and there's so many reasons as to why people collect and then become addicted to collecting. Let me try and bring this video to an end. Hopefully it's a short one, and tell you what I actually think. Do I think that collecting and being addicted are the same thing? Honestly, I think collecting is an addiction. Collecting is about the chase. So that again gives you that happy hormone when you have found it. It's the same thing. It's chasing an item, trying to get that rare item, or you know, the feeling of missing out. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. To me, people, it's the same thing. It's just when you call somebody an addict, it's like a negative, whereas a collector, you know, you're a collector of art, you're a collector, it has a positive sound to it, whereas an addict has a negative sound. But in fact, I think they're the same thing. It's just they're looked upon by us as a positive and a negative, and in fact it's the same thing. And like I said, if you can afford it and you want to collect and you're addicted to collect, good for you. But as you know, as long as you're not overspending, because I think that's when you overstep the mark. You know, even if you're a collector and then you go on and you buy something and you can't really afford it, then you're addicted. See, I'm gonna leave that there because I can argue myself out of anything or into anything. So let me know, and let's see what conclusion we come to in the comments. You know, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to you now. Down in the comments, let me know what you think. Lux and Roses, you started this, and let's see. Before we go, I'm going to throw the question right back to me. I often call myself a nail varnish addict. So, am I a collector of nail varnishes, or am I an addict of buying nail varnishes? And I would say I'm not a collector, because I don't buy them just to have them on show. Okay, I don't just to have them or I need the next colour that comes out, but I'm addicted to nail varnish itself. I like to have the different colours. Doesn't even really matter what make it is, it's the colours that I'm drawn to. It's doing my nails in different colours. You know, like, I get bored of the same colour. I'm addicted to buying the nail varnish to put on my nails. I'm not addicted to collecting it and keeping it on the shelf to look at and enjoy it on my shelf. No, I actually take great joy in using it up, putting it in the dustbin and buying another one. It's buying another one, buying another nail varnish. Am I addicted to shopping nail varnishes? I'll go back to another thing. To me, I think there's a wee bit of addiction to shopping as well. I think that's what it is. And buying the nail varnish is an easy buy. You know, you can buy a nail varnish for £5 and you've got that happy hormone of buying something new. So for me, it's like the easy option to buy something, but I do love nail varnish. I don't know what I'm talking about, people. This is what I'm saying to you. I could dispute with myself. I'm an only child. I have these disputes in my head going on all the time. So I love nail varnish. Could I stop buying nail varnish? I tried. But because it can be such an inexpensive thing, you go, oh, I'll just buy it. It's not as easy for me with handbags. I couldn't buy a handbag on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. It's the designer handbags. Sometimes I'll go and buy a less expensive one, but it doesn't hit the happy hormones, people. For me to hit the happy hormones with a handbag, it has to be a designer handbag. I know I've made absolute no sense, because that's why I wanted to put it out there. I wanted the discussion thrown at you so we can discuss it. Let me know your thoughts on it. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like to see any more crazy videos from me, I'm going to link one here, and if you're not already subscribed, no wonder. Anyway, it's the A right here, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, and cheers. I'm going to enjoy the sunshine.